You're watching Hindustan Times Insight. Gone in 45 days, or 44 days, shall we say. Yes, we are talking about Britain's embattled Prime Minister, Liz Truss, or right now the ex-Prime Minister. Every big news outlet in the UK, India, and really the rest of the world right now is pontificating on who will be her successor. The answer, of course, will be decided next week after a leadership election is completed and the party chooses a successor. Mind you, just like they chose Truss less than 2 months ago. Let me dive straight in and ask my paper's editor-in-chief Sukumar Ranganathan, who's here with me, what he thinks about the developments in the UK over the last several days, culminating, of course, with Truss's unceremonious exit.
It was very strange, and the reason it was very strange is because the UK currently has a rule that says if someone has been elected as Prime Minister, that person can survive for a year without a confidence vote from the MPs, right? I mean, without, and because otherwise the threshold for changing the Prime Minister is 15% of the parliamentary party, which, given the current sense of the Conservative Parliamentary Party, is around 54.
Okay.
But in this case, 54 would not apply, and the threshold that would apply, if it had to be done within a year, was 50%, which was 179. But what had happened, and this happened over Monday and Tuesday, was that the 1922 committee, which is basically a bunch of backbenchers who decide how the election will work, whether a prime minister stays or goes. The chairman of that committee received over 100 letters from MPs saying we've lost faith in Truss. And so that was one element. Then there was this completely mishandled vote on fracking, on a hydraulic fracking, which the government passed off as a vote of confidence. And it was a melee, right? It was nothing short of a melee. And there was also the exit of Suella Braverman for an email that she sent from her personal address and everything else. But when she left, she did irreparable damage to Liz Truss by basically lashing out and saying this government going in the wrong direction. I don't think we are going to keep all our promises. Truss promised to be tough on immigration. I don't think she's going to be tough. So, and of course, the motivation was this is I think Suella Braverman is going to emerge as one of the candidates next week. So she obviously wanted to distance herself. But all these together prompted the head of the 1922 committee to approach Liz Truss and clearly tell her that while the number 179 had not been reached, she'd clearly lost the faith of or the confidence of a majority, or not a majority, of a significant number of people in the party, and that her continuing in power would be untenable, and it would have been. But you have to understand what happened, because after all, she was elected after a fairly elaborate process, and you have to view things in the larger context of what is happening with the UK economy, because the fundamental reason is the economy. The UK's economy is in distress. They have not seen, that country has not seen inflation that is as high as it is now. And this has come at a time when energy prices are also soaring. Winter is setting in. Some people expect this winter to be harsh because, as you know, it never rains, it pours. And there is a very real chance that a lot of Britons are going to be pushed into destitution, into abject poverty. There are people who are going hungry right now. So Liz Truss's solution to all this was an economic solution that on paper sometimes looks good. This time it didn't look good even on paper, which is basically to say we will cut taxes. We will increase government borrowings. The economy will grow when we cut taxes, and then because the economy grows, everything will be all right. The markets didn't see it that way. IMF didn't see it that way. No one else saw it that way. There was a huge backlash. The currency markets went berserk. There was a period when The dollar and the pound were almost trading at parity. So she had to do a rapid U-turn, and along with the plan went the chancellor, who's a friend from college days, right? I mean, who also got kicked out, and she appointed a more centrist chancellor of the exchequer, who came in and pretty much undid the mini budget, and also said that new taxes, such as a windfall tax on inheritance, which Liz Truss had said would never happen in her time, were very much on the anvil, right? So the fundamental cause of all this was the economy and a botched economic revival plan. Had she been a little smarter in the kind of economic revival plan, because there were people who pointed out that this was the wrong strategy to be adopting, including Sunak, who actually pointed it out in public during a debate when he said this makes no sense, and it actually does not make any sense. And of course, he is likely to be one of the candidates.
Exactly. So now, you talked about, the economy, you talked about something. I didn't want to interrupt you before. So Sulela Braverman is one of the hopefuls, and I think I'd like to talk a bit more about that. But first, about what we were talking about, Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sinat, now he's the man who called out this excess borrowing strategy, which Truss had been touting and then went on to implement in one of the debates. And now, now that he's proven to be correct, and now, do you think there is a chance that he will make the cut? And also, Sulela Braverman as one of the hopefuls? Question mark?
Well, see, with Rishi Sunak, there's just one question that you need to answer. And I think the answer is going to be no, but let me pose the question anyway. Has the fact that, or is the fact that he's been proven right about the economy enough to make the anger against him for causing the downfall of Johnson go away? Will it offset it? Because the only reason why a majority of the party did not vote for him was because they felt he
started the falling of the cards.
They felt he stabbed Johnson in the back, right? And that his departure pretty much ruined Johnson's chances of staying in power, irrespective of whatever else might be there. I do not think that the fact that he was right is enough to make people forgive him for what they see as something that he did. Not that I think he did anything wrong, but so I'm not sure that is going to.
He was the finance minister during the time when the economy came crashing down on its head, really.
Yeah, but you also have to look at what the causes were, right? I mean, when COVID first happened around the world, every Western economy did pretty much the same thing that the UK did. Just pump cash into the system, and in fact, it was economies such as India which actually did not pump cash into the system directly, which were frowned upon, and everyone was asking, why are you not doing it?
And now they're saying, oh wow, you didn't do it, see where you are.
Yeah, because I think it kept inflation in check, whereas in the UK it just caused inflation to spiral. And of course, I think the immediate trigger for everything that's happening is Ukraine, and the Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the effect it's had on global energy markets, which has really caused a huge amount of trouble across Western Europe and the UK. The US is relatively insulated.
According to you, what are sorry, I'm just cutting back to.
Who are the candidates?
I'm mainly to Rishi Sunak, because there seems to be an immense amount of interest, at least within India. They were trending Rishi Sunak yesterday all over Twitter. Now that
if all the Indians on WhatsApp had a vote, Rishi Sunak could be not just the Prime Minister of UK but Master of the Universe, right? But fortunately or unfortunately, all the Indians on WhatsApp do not have a vote, so I don't think it's going to happen. But like I said, is the fact that he was right about the economy enough to make people forgive his perceived betrayal of Johnson? I do not think so. At least for the rank and file, the core of the Conservative Party. So I'm not sure that that's going to happen. Sulela Braverman is more from the Johnson camp.
But Johnson himself seems to be in the fray, according to some reports, to make a comeback.
We do not know. We will have to see whether he can. The question is, the key number is 100, right? Because the current rules say that for this election, nominations are open already, but you will need to have 100 MPs endorsing your nomination. You cannot have duplicates. So you mean if you are an MP, Aditi, you can't endorse two people.
I want Sunak, but I also want
so it's just one person. There are 360 MPs in the parliamentary party around, which means you can have 3 candidates, you cannot have more. A maximum of 3 candidates, you could well have fewer. Sunak will definitely get over 100 because he did manage, when you looked at the MP things, he did manage to cross that 100 number fairly easily. I have a feeling that Penny Mordaunt, if she chooses to stand, will also probably get that much. Suella Braverman, perhaps. Jeremy Hunt, who is the Chancellor of Exchequer, said he's not contesting. Boris Johnson, the question that you asked, can he raise those 100 MPs? Especially given the circumstances of his exit, which had much more to do with the various scandals that were associated with this term,
including a COVID party.
And not so much mismanagement of the economy or something else, right? So I'm not sure that that is going to happen. Sure, it's always easy for people to look at a figure like him, and he's a larger than life figure as a sort of a savior, right? A white knight will come riding in and save the party. But what is clear is that there will not be an election, because all the opinion polls are showing that the Labour Party has a significant advantage if elections are to be held now. So the Conservative Party is definitely not going to hold an election. And we'll start getting the names today. I expect to start getting the names today. I mean, it could happen later, but I have a feeling that we'll start seeing who the candidates are starting today. And
so just, it's the economy that started this political crisis in the UK, and whoever the next incumbent is, that crisis is not going to go away overnight. So I'm not going to ask you for a solution to that crisis, because I know you will. Even if I ask you, you will have an answer to that.
No, unlikely. I don't think it's a very. I was hoping you would not ask that question.
Okay. But broadly, what do you think will be the challenges for the incumbent or the next incumbent of 10 Downing Street?
2 big challenges. The first challenge, and this is the much more public challenge, is the economy. Really, how do you address this? And the associated issues related to the reputation of the UK and everything else, which is just gone to shreds now. The second one is there have been times in the past when the party has been split or has had camps, but it seems extremely divided now. And if they need to have any chance of doing well in the next election, they need to have someone who manages to unify at least vast sections of the party. Seems extremely difficult at this point in time, but those are really the 2 big challenges. One is external and economic, and the other one is internal and in terms of unifying the party.
The challenges are very, very daunting as far as the next incumbent of 10 Downing Street is concerned. But thank you, viewers, for watching this broadcast. I hope we have been able to shed a little more light on what's going on in the United Kingdom and what are the challenges ahead for the next Prime Minister of Britain. Thank you so much for watching this broadcast. See you next time when we come back to you with more updates.